this is Lenny Nuccio with Bottom Line Results, and I'm here today with Russ Noe with Aha Moment Marketing. Thanks for joining us, Russ.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about branding. And when did you first discover the importance of branding for a company?
Well, I think it was gradual. I don't think it was all at once. I think it's something I just became aware of because my background's in communication design and publishing, and I sort of evolved into a branding strategist. So I think it's, now I look back and I wonder how certain brands captured my attention and my loyalty, and it's a mixture of hard information or practicality, but also for me, it's very much about the emotional connection. So that's what I try to do, is balance the hard information, the research, the competition, as well as the emotional drivers that motivate consumers.
When we think of brands, or at least I do, you might think of Apple and Nike and Coca-Cola's of the world. Now, how does a smaller medium business, how do they compete in that type of arena with their brand?
Well, that's a good question, and I think that those are great brands. I think it's great just to emulate those brands. I mean, they have great products, so obviously go to market with a great product or service that fills a niche. You want to make sure that your product, your brand promise delivers. Definitely in this day and age when consumers are really evolving and they're becoming more of the conversation, we don't really talk to them, talk down to them, we talk with them and have a conversation or a dialogue with them. So Apple's a great example of a brand, of a company that's created a really vibrant brand culture, and you can go into any Apple store any time of the day and it's filled with people and it's a vibrant atmosphere, and so I think that no matter what your product is, create a relevant message, know who you're talking to, know what they care about, clearly state who you are, what your arena is, very much capitalize on what's unique about your brand, differentiate yourself, because there's so much out there, so much competition and so much clutter, and then really state and make it apparent to your consumers what the benefits are of having a relationship with that brand.
So it is much more about relationship than simply transaction.
Absolutely. It's really, one of the paradigm shifts of late is it's more about transformation than transaction. Because if it is about transaction only, then your brand or your product just becomes a commodity, and then it's just all about price.
And no one wins really in a price war.
Yeah.
Great.
Except the consumer.
Well, that's true. We're all for those. What are some of the first keys you would say, Russ, to focus on with building a great brand? Say someone's got a product, they've got some sales, and they're getting ready to ramp up. I mean, what are beyond a logo and a brochure, what would you say would be important as they're formulating that brand?
Well, I think first is I see the brand as the soul, and I see your brand communication elements as sort of at the voice of that brand. And a lot of people think that a logo is a brand or a brochure or an ad, but those are components of your brand or tools to help get your brand message out there, but they are not your brand per se. Your brand is sort of the perception that consumers have about you, and if you don't create that perception, they will create one for you, and that can sometimes be good and sometimes it can be bad. So I think the main thing is to internally with your team make sure you're aligned with your vision and your mission, and make sure that your product, you can deliver on your brand promise. And then, like I said earlier, you really need to know who you're talking to. These audiences are moving quickly and swiftly, and they're evolving, and it's a full-time job just to keep an eye on where they're going, where they're congregating, and what they care about. So you want to make sure that your message, even though you want to make sure it's cohesive, but you want to keep it fresh and relevant to them. So I think just mainly keeping your team aligned, your vision aligned, and keeping your eye on your audience and knowing how to constantly stay involved with them and keeping that dialogue going.
So would it be safe to say, Russ, if someone, maybe they're not ready to add all the external additions to their brand, but if they start making sure that they keep aligned, everyone on their team is going in the same direction, they're delivering a great product or service, right, and they focusing on the customer, that would be a great place to start.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes that companies make is they try to market to themselves, and if you are not your target audience, then you're making a huge mistake. With regards to your corporate identity, with regards to, well, basically, you want to start out with, does your product or your service fill a need? Do people need what you have to sell? That's the first thing. And then once you've done that, you build a brand around that. But you've got to build a brand that your core audience is going to relate to. Again, Apple's a great example of continuing to innovate, create products that people care about, and even in a down economy, those stores are filled with people buying fairly expensive products.
In a down economy.
In a down economy.
And from what I've known, people that are probably the highest loyalty level I've seen with any brand is people with Apple.
Absolutely. And there again, they've created a rich culture. They talk with you. They are constantly innovating and thinking about what you will need before you even know you need it. And they basically create very fun, practical toys for adults.
It's important. I just got my new Apple device and I'm really excited about it, and I really understand now what all the commotion, positive commotion, is about.
And they back it up with great relationships after the sale.
Yes.
So, with their Genius Bar and all that. So when you go in there, you feel like you're very much a part of that brand, and that's so important, is to feel like you are on the platform with them. They're not talking down to you.
Absolutely. Everyone seems to realize or recognize that they need to go online now with their business and building their brand. What would you say is very important for a business owner to keep in mind when they want to be building their brand with their online presence?
Move cautiously. First of all, we all know that it's the most personal, impersonal tool out there. There are billions of bits of information. There are hundreds of millions of people using it, so it's a universe, and it's very easy to get lost in that universe. So before I would tell anyone to go online with their presence, I would use the same principles we talked about earlier. Know who you are, who you're talking to, what makes you different, and what the benefits are to your customer. And once you've got that information and your team, everyone's behind it, you want to make sure that the message you put out there really convey that to your audience. Because at this point, since it is just this vast universe, you want to make sure that when they find you, and when they do find you, that they will connect with you. And that connection will create the devotion that will keep them, create a long and fruitful relationship with consumer and brand.
Absolutely. And Russ, as we wrap up here with our last question, we touched on Apple and brand loyalty, but what have you seen evolve as far as consumer loyalty to a particular brand as of late?
Well, I did a study years ago, and brand loyalty is changing. Boomers were incredibly brand loyal just based on what they were told and what they experienced, and every subsequent generation is less and less likely to be loyal to you. So it really is now about, I keep going back to this word conversation, creating this culture that's rich. First of all, deliver a product that people need, especially in a down economy, that if they don't need it, they can become very emotionally involved with it, and it fulfills at least the emotional component. But I think you have to, social media is going to become more and more important, and that's going to lead to what we're going to call social commerce. It's finding out where people are, where they congregate online, just like TV networks have done to find out where their viewers are, and now we know they're all over the place, with cable and pay TV and all that. But we've got to start trying to find where people are, where they congregate, what they care about. So if you're selling a certain product, you'll know where to go to find those people and get them to come to where you are and then create that relationship.
Excellent. Well, appreciate your time.
Sure.
Again, Russ Noe, and one of the principals at AHA Moment Marketing. And if you have any further questions, please give us a call at 949-788-2998 or check out our website at www.bottomlineresultscorp.com.